Hi everyone, this is Norman Kosnick with the wrong hat on. I'll put the right hat on. Here we are. Norman Kosnick is here with Eyes on Cricket. And we have witnessed an amazing double-header today with two teams coming to the fore. Two teams, you would argue, have thumped their opposition. Mumbai Indians have done a very good service against the likes of the Rajasthan Royals. And ultimately, really, Mumbai Indians have certainly asserted their authority with a number of players playing particularly well. But even more dramatic was the Delhi Capitals game against KKR. Delhi Capitals absolutely thumped KKR. They won with 21 balls to spare. They could easily have gone well over 200 the way they were playing. They were in another gear. Prithvi Shaw hitting 24 off the first over on a 25-run first over. There's no discounting the fact that Prithvi Shaw, Delhi Capitals, Shikhar Dhawan, Rishabh Pant, Ricky Ponting at the helm are a force to be reckoned with. We're going to see them dominate. But the flip side is Kolkata Knight Riders were abysmal, in my opinion. Yet again, failures from Narayan and Owen Morgan. Their upper order batted reasonably well, but not well enough. Their bowling was awful as well. Pat Cummins was misused. An opening over when you get 25 runs hit off you doesn't say much for your bowling, I'm afraid. In fact, how rare, we've got Tabasha Sen joining us today. We're going to have hopefully more people, namely Shapali and Keshav and the like, joining us later. But Tabasha, how bad are you as a bowling unit if you're getting hit for 25 off the opening over?
Means when you were chasing, Norman, when you were chasing a paltry total of 150 odd runs, and then you have your first over going out for 25 odd runs, then you are almost chasing the game right from the word go, and invariably you should send in your best bowler, which to me is Pat Cummins. He should have been sent in early, and especially he should have been given the first over. Maybe if you could pick a couple of overs in the power play, then things would have been a lot more different for KKR. But that was not the case. I think we have seen some strange decisions, some really baffling decisions on the part of KKR captain Owen Morgan and his team management. When you have someone of the stature of Pat Cummins, then to not utilize him. And especially, it does make sense if you have a total of 180, 190. Or of course, you can leave Pat Cummins for a later over. But when you have a small total like for 150, invariably you should give him the first over or bring him a lot early, not in the sixth over. So I think KKR lost that trick in perhaps sending in an inexperienced bowler like Shivam Mavi, and we all know Prithvi Shaw, what a player he is. Oh boy, he just some of the shots that he played were out of the blue.
And we've got the comments there which concur with what you're saying from Ismooks there. Just a quick point about Prithvi Shaw. His performance today, I want him to be consistently at that level now. I want him to consistently perform. That's where I think we need to see him make a stamp on this competition to take some pressure off the likes of Punt's. With that ability today, it took Punt's performance to another level. He can now dictate terms with the support of his fellow batsmen. That's going to make Delhi Capitals very close to unbeatable. I think teams that win tournaments generally thump sides at certain stages, especially towards the end. They dominate. You just can't win. You've got to win well. And that's a mental effort to show strength. Delhi have shown that today. And I'm pretty sure RCB and CSK are watching with great concern.
And one more thing is that the manner in which they bounce back after losing that last match, means that speaks a lot of things about this Delhi Capital side. The way you bouncing back means that shows the entire strength of the squad. And to me, this Delhi Capital squad is looking very good because they are perhaps picking in at the right time, maybe not too early, but see, in a long tournament like the IPL, you need these bumps on the road. Means you need these hiccups. And don't leave it for too late. Means at the business end, rather you should have these bumps or you should have these hiccups at the start or the middle of the tournament. And it goes to prove that how you bounce back from those adversaries.
Yeah, and this is a very good point. Who bowls your first over is extremely important, and that's where the problem lied. Look, I don't understand bowling a bowler first over and then not bowling him again. That was not a smart move. They could have afforded to give Marvin another over. Why? Because it psychologically damages the entire team. The bowlers bowled out of the game so quickly. Pat Cummins should have opened the bowling, have bounced these two out, given them curry, and taken early wickets.
And I would just like to draw to the fact that Shivam Mavi, you are a fast bowler. You're a medium pacer, bowling at 140, 145 Ks per hour. You don't bowl a bouncer even after going in for three consecutive boundaries. That is what Sunil Gavaskar was going on air and saying that he was very, very disappointed to see Shivam Mavi not bowling a short bouncer, not bowling a short ball. That is not done. Means you are a fast bowler. You should take that aggression. Means aggression does not mean that staring at the batsman or just bowl a bouncer. And it was so very disappointing not to see Marvin bowling a short ball or bowling a bouncer at Prithvi Shaw even after going for four boundaries. Means that is what is so very disappointing. If you notice that Pat Cummins in his first over, he did bowl a bouncer at Prithvi Shaw. He almost ducked the ball. So this is where lies experience, and that is where Shivam Mavi, KKR did go wrong by not sending in Pat Cummins to bowl the first over.
And that's important because the openers were set and batting very well when Cummins came on for that spell. And he took their wickets with you would argue, great ease. So even though two batsmen are entirely on top of their game, batting well in the match, were not able to handle Pat Cummins. Incredibly poor captaincy. I know you've discussed with me before, Devashish, that Owen Morgan should continue to be left as captain. But how many more times are we going to see substandard captaincy from him? I don't care if he's won World Cups. We're talking about the present, the now. And that's where Ricky Ponting is probably the only Australian in the tournament that can hang his head up high. He talks about the team playing in the present, playing on the day, performing on the day. That is the best advice any coach can give a player. Forget what happened yesterday. Forget what they think will happen tomorrow. It's what they do right there and then. When they're in that delivery, what they are doing will make a decision. You play each ball on its merits, and you have your mental strength is being there in the present. And that's why Ricky Ponting scored so many runs when he batted. He knew what he was doing. He was on top of his game when he was there. The three players for Australia, Ricky Ponting, Steve Waugh, and Alan Border. Those three in particular had that ability to be in the moment. And nothing was more important than that next delivery, whether you're captain, batter, or bowler. And he instilled that in his team, and that's where Rishabh Pant's going to be some hell of a captain. Under Ricky Ponting's tutelage, you watch. He'll develop. He'll make his mistakes, but he learns from his mistakes. Owen Morgan's keeping on repeating the same mistakes. He believes in his system and doesn't want to change, but I'm afraid you've got to change sometimes. Okay. A lot of people make. Oh, I'm having a look there. They're giving Marvy a lot of hell. I'm not going to blame Marvy. I'm going to blame the captain for sure. I was also used to wonder why Marvy and Nagahoti weren't ahead of Prashant Krishna. It's clear that he is the only one who can bowl aggressively. That's true. I think that Krishna is someone who can bowl aggressively and is quite a good bowler. But I think Indian bowlers in general. Okay, Ishan Sharma, we know, Siraj, there are quite a few that are good. But in essence, some Indian bowlers lack a little bit of aggressiveness on occasions, and they probably need to learn that. I would argue that's some way of true. They need to take a bit of the only leaf out of an Australian bowling armoury is their short ball and their aggressiveness. I think that's where we need to see more of that happening with some of the Indian bowlers. Okay. The reality is that we have a tournament here that's starting to show a divide. 4 teams on top, and you would argue 4 teams on the bottom. Maybe it's 3 teams on the bottom. Maybe one may sneak up. We don't know, but there's very strong. don't you? Do you think this is a rather startling early development in the competition? There's a distinct two piles or two groups. Devastus, do you think that's very?
Yeah, I to some extent I agree with you, Norman, because Delhi Capitals, Mumbai Indians, or Royal Challengers Bangalore, Chennai Super Kings had looked far better teams, superior teams, I would say, from the bottom four. Because obviously it's two teams that could compete with all those four top teams are Sunrisers Hyderabad and to some extent Kolkata Knight Riders, because they are really strong on paper, but then their performance doesn't speak so. But then, having said that, Rajasthan Royals, you know that they are let down by their overseas cricketers not being injured, and some flying back home. The likes of Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer, Liam Livingstone, all missing. So you can understand that Rajasthan Royals are not a strong side on paper as of now, but they are having talks with the Mumbai Indians in getting Jimmy Nisham traded to them, which is not a good move. It will not be a good move at all, because you need a fast bowling all rounder in that side. So having said that, I totally agree with you that the top four teams has looked far better, superior teams in the at least in the first phase of this of the season.
Absolutely. And we've got a comment here from Amaresh Series, who often comments, yes, Norman, Harsh Patel faces similar problems when he can't land his Yorkers. Need to have a ball you can go to even when it is not your day. That's true. Harsh Patel's generally bowled exceptionally well this series, but there's aspects of the game. Even Bumrah, although he bowled well today, slight honing of their skills. It's too early, I know, but I want to see more of that. The batters are starting to dominate. It's an interesting shift as well. We've had a bowler dominating most of the first 20-odd games. Now the batsmen are starting to dominate. Have you noticed that shift? It is grounds.
Yes.
It is Delhi and Ahmedabad, yes. But there's been a little bit of a shift there to the batting lines, which is intriguing. You can't just blame the pitch for that.
But then when the entourage come to Kolkata, means Eden Gardens, then you will see a lot more fast bowlers testing success, because that Eden Gardens deck does offer a lot of bounce for the fast bowlers. At least if you notice the last couple of seasons, that has been the trend.
Absolutely. Now, there's a comment about Shikhar Dhawan batting slow today. That's, quite frankly, that's not ridiculous, but it's irrelevant, because Shikhar Dhawan knew the role he was going to play with Prithvi Shaw. He took a foot off the pedal a little bit and let Shaw go for it. That was brilliant. Actually, I think it was brilliant. He knew how to play a foil for Shaw today. They did it well. Shikhar Dhawan is a master. He has been bringing Shaw along. He's almost the mentor to Shaw in a way. There's a great deal of synergy going on between those two, and I'm very impressed. Shikhar Dhawan, I mean, how are you going to pick a T20 World Cup opening pair now? It's getting more and more confusing. You've got Sharma, you've got Rahul potentially, you've got Dhawan, you've got Prithvi Shaw, even Gill maybe. They've got too many.
Gill? Did you mention
I'll leave Gill out. I'll leave Gill out. Maybe for tests. But really, that's an incredible set of opening batters, aren't there? Oh my God, any number of them.
Absolutely. And that augurs very well for India.
Oh, I mean, India should rightfully, if they play the World Cup on Indian soil, there's some doubt there with the UAE being considered. If they do play there, India should romp home. India have no excuses for not winning this the World Cup. They have no excuses at all. They should, as I was jokingly saying, there could be an Indian A and B side in the World Cup. They may be the ones playing the final. Really, there's a lot to be said about that, indeed. Devastus, I appreciate. Let me tell you, viewers, Devastus Sen is a magnificent guy. He's on air with me today at such a late hour. He's been working 24 hours around the clock. He does a great job for his platform, Extra Time, which I want you all to subscribe to. He's also done a great job on my platform. We're very fortunate. He brings amazing guests to his platform. And in my case, it's getting a bit late for my guests. Well, Akesha might be here. I think he may be still on there on his own channel. But I do appreciate you greatly. And if there's ever a person who needs to be supported, it's Devastus. Quality stuff on Extra Time. Anyone watching my platform, you should be watching Extra Time for pre and post shows, without a doubt. Now, yeah, there's no just. I think Bilal Studio wants to know about the. I said before about Darwin batting slowly. Not relevant. He didn't bat slowly. He batted appropriately with his partner, namely Prithvi Shaw. So there's a lot. So I've taken your question about Bilal Studio. Stop asking. Stop repeating your comment because I've already taken it. I've already mentioned it several times. So let's look at that later. All right. So in terms of the context of the series, we have, and I find it amazing, the last two matches to busters of the series, I think it's game 55 and 56 or 54 and 55, I'm not sure. Those games are going to be between the top four teams as they stand now. I don't know who put the timetable together, but do they know something? It's intriguing how the top four sides are going to play against each other in the very last match. It is. In fact, I love to know how they actually put together the timetable for any tournament, especially the IPL. It's interesting how they. Is it just luck that the last two teams are those? It's interesting. The other comment that I want to make about that is, can the IPL afford one or two more teams? Are they going to be playing 76 or 80 or 90 games? Is that possible
I think they have reduced the matches have been reduced. I think it is 60 matches, but previously it used to be a little more than that. When considering these travel restrictions and this pandemic situations, I think the format is also changed this time round. Some of the venues like Punjab, you don't have any matches in Punjab, or be it for Rajasthan, you don't. They are not playing in at their own backyard. So this is the teams are not playing at their home at their own backyard. That is something new for in IPL. Because the home team is not getting an opportunity to play in their own backyard. So that is something a strange thing to have happened. But then these are all what is it, because of this extraordinary situation that we are going through now. Because that is the reason it has been.
Absolutely. I just want to look at this. It's a question there about night and day must be the same person as well. We keep asking the same question. Okay. I'm interested in sending you a COVID-related important public question message. How can I send that? Just send it through messages on this, and we can look at it anytime.
Maybe you can send it to you, and you can forward me.
Exactly. Send it through.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ismooks.
Now we've had this question about Darwin playing too, so we've already answered that. All right, so we've got your question. Don't keep writing that question. We've already had that question multiply. Okay. Now, Andre Proudfoot, you're saying that Mumbai are on the way back. They are. They certainly are. They've won 3 and lost 3. They're on their way back, but I don't know whether they're quite the same.
But then, when you talk about a site like Mumbai Indians, they are a team of champions. As you rightly said, they are a champion team, and they are all world beaters in their own right. And they are the most successful team. So they know how to bounce back, and they have done it. This is not the first time that Mumbai we see themselves losing 3, winning 3 so early in the tournament. But then they are a side who have witnessed 5 losses and then to bounce back, winning 7 matches and going on to win the tournament. So Mumbai does know, and when you have someone like an experience like Mahela Jayawardene and Rohit Sharma or a Hardik Pandya or a Surya Kumar Yadav or a Trent Bolt, they know how to regroup themselves and bounce back. So I think Andre is right in saying that Mumbai are on their way back, which I believe very true.
Absolutely. The other question is Ashok Jatani says, Norman, do you think KKR will improve from here? Well, I was about to say they can't get any worse. They actually can. They actually continue to get worse. That's the danger here, that I actually think they're likely to go down before they go back up. In my opinion, if they continue to use the same tactics and they continue to play in the same manner, they're going to go down even another notch, which is very concerning. Well, they're not last at the moment. They could easily fall back to last, which will really perhaps hopefully scare them into some rebound. But can they? You'd hope they can. I don't know whether they're going to do it anytime soon. What are your thoughts,
as you have rightly said, that if they keep on making such weird decisions, such strange playing combinations, and some of the strategies of the captain leading from Morgan is really baffling. And I think if KKR are to bounce back or to do well from now on, there needs to be a radical change in the side. Means be it their playing combinations or be it their batting order, they need to sort this out. Or sending a genuine bowler like Pat Cummins at the start in the power play, using him in the power play. So these are small things that go in a long way in perhaps helping KKR to bounce back. But I doubt because the body language of KKR right now at the moment is doesn't look that 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 good. I think because starting from their coach Brendan McCullum, Kyle Mills, or David Hussey, I wonder what these guys are doing at the dugout. It's obviously because there seems nothing seems to be reflected on the players who are on the field. They were so down, and because apart from Andrew Russell, who I saw that and Shivam Mavi over, he was time and again coming and cheering him up. But then I think the KKR, their body language is very down at this moment.
Look, I again refer to the dugout. There's a lot of I'm noticing a lot of silence in the KKR. When a team is sitting there watching a match, they should be vocal between each other, supporting. When a person does something well, and they're going, well done, go for it. People hear that on the field, especially in a stadium which is empty.
Norman, there is no one that you can witness in the KKR side who is vibrant, who is lively, who cheer up the team like a John T. Rhodes used to do during the South African days. Because none of the players you can see, because it no, or, no, invariably lifts the side. If you have someone who keeps on egging, we could hear only Dinesh Karthik shouting at from behind the stumps, but most of his words that he speaks was the local language which he and Varun Chakravarti are communicating between each other. Because
Well, that's a real concern, because if you've got a captain who only speaks English and a keeper invariably saying what he says in his own language,
that's a local language. That's a Tamil language that is communicating, because both comes from Chennai. So that is because I wonder if someone else in the side is getting to know, because Prasidh Krishna comes from south, also from Karnataka, but other players in the KKR side don't don't come from the south, so they won't understand. This is not a good sign
No,
for a
it's a
good
very
player.
bad sign.
This is a very bad sign.
It's showing fractions. I almost, based on what you've just said, I wonder about whether Dinesh Karthik has actually resigned to the fact that he's not captain, whether he wants to be captain. He could be adding to the destabilisation with Owen Morgan, with Brendan McCullum. We just don't know. I think there's a lot going on there. And look, you've got an empty stadium, Tabashas, an empty stadium. The benefit of a bench and the verbalisation of a bench saying, come on, well done, is almost equal to the entire crowd. And I think, again, it only brings to the fore what I'm talking about. The actual dugout, the bench, whatever you want to call it, is almost the focal point of energy of a team. And if you see that being down, the entire mood drops. You know what, Tabashas, you and I have to put together a video of just the dugouts throughout the whole tournament. Clips, in essence, of the dugouts. And you would then be able to, you'd look at the teams that have won, the teams that have lost, and I bet you those dugout videos will be worth their weight in gold. What do you think?
Absolutely, Norman. But we need to, that won't be a bad idea to in fact highlight the pictures of these dugouts, and form a small cap video and put it on our social media channels. Won't be a bad idea.
Okay. Ashok was, in his words, saying that KKR are disintegrating, and I think he's right.
Absolutely, because that bonding is missing. When you talk about a good side, means you could hardly, because if you look at side like Mumbai Indians, although they have lost three, but they don't let them not for a single time they looked like a disjointed side. They looked a completely means players playing for each other, means they are willing to give that extra bit for each other, and that is what a brave good side is all about. and that to me is what you talk when you talk about a side like Mumbai Indians or a Delhi Capitals. This team under Ricky Ponting last 2 seasons has been a revelation. Ever since Ricky Ponting has taken charge, if you remember the first the team talk that Ricky Ponting say is that he ensured that all he needs is the right attitude. He
On
doesn't
that
he's
day, in that
on,
moment.
he is not too bothered whether the team loses, because there will be bumps on the road, there will be some losses, there will be some highs and lows in a big tournament like the IPL, but then that effort should be there. If you are putting in your right effort, then irrespective of the result, he's okay with it. So I think that was a very important statement from Ricky Ponting, the first team talk that he has given in this season. So the same applies to good sides like a Chennai Super Kings or a Royal Challengers Bangalore, but then not so about KKR, because Brendan McCullum, if you watch the dugout, is so very so it's keeping so quiet.
Absolutely. And there's, I think, Tobias, our experience at this now and our understanding of how this works is paramount. We're talking with a lot of unbiasedness, and we're trying to look at the reality of these teams. If it's this obvious to us, why isn't it obvious to the management? Are they blinded by what they're seeing? Are they ignorant? Are they stubborn? You need
They
to
are
be
stubborn.
stubborn. There's a
They
bit
are
of
stubborn.
pride,
They are
arrogance
stubborn
going.
because there
Yes,
are so many cameras, so many highlights, so many. Means you cannot say that they are not witnessing. Everyone is watching the same thing. So I think they are a bit stubborn. I would say the KKR management.
yeah, I think that's exactly right. Ricky Ponting, to me, at this stage, is probably the best coach at the moment in the way he's approaching his side, and that's evidenced by what he says. He is clearly, that's why Australia was so successful under Ricky Ponting. He must have been an amazing captain, not unlike a Steve Waugh and Alan Border. Those people, they knew what to say at the right moments. Simon Kadich is also very good, and it's nothing to do with them being Australian, because we've got some very poor Australian coaches running around at the moment. Well, I say poor, the disharmony between Trevor Bayliss and Tom Moody is huge. Both Bayliss and Moody have both coached Sri Lanka, and I'm telling you now, there's something not right between those two at the moment. And even the likes of McCullum and his group. And the Australian coaches normally are good, but if there's some real stubbornness going on there, and if you've got two strong characters in a coaching role together, you're not going to work. You have to have a yin and yang, don't you? You have to have.
Absolutely.
You've got to
Absolutely.
complement each other. You can't be at loggerheads. You've got to swallow your pride and do what's right for the team. Okay. Sebastian, we'll let you go in a few minutes if you like. You let me know when you want to go. You've been
Yeah,
fantastic.
I just answer one question. There's
Okay.
someone, and there's Akshay Jaiknath. He said, "Why is Narin batting down the order when was so effective in the power play in the previous years?" I to some extent I totally agree with Akshay, because if you remember a few seasons back in BBL, he opened the batting for Melbourne Renegades against Melbourne Stars, and he was very successful in BBL. That was the reason he was prompted in the batting order for KKR, and he did quite well. If you as a floater, you send him, means he has nothing to lose really. But then to send him at number 4, you are not making the best use of Sunil Narine. Means if you are to include Sunil Narine in that playing 11, and then you need to send him at the top. Means maybe he has nothing to lose if he can give you those quick runs in say 30 or 40 runs in quick time, 15-20 balls. That will help KKR, because that will ease the pressure of the middle order, because those two opening the starts that KKR is getting is not doing justice, not doing good for their middle order, because it's been a very sluggish start, very conservative approach from the likes of Nitish Rana, Shubman Gill. I think Rahul Tripathi is also not a bad bet. If you ask me, he can also be promoted up the batting order instead of Nitish Rana, because both Shubman Gill and Nitish Rana has failed to keep the momentum going at the start. What you need in a tournament in a T20 format.
Yeah, look, it's very frustrating to watch what's going on. Again, it's this form of ignorance to what people are saying around you. And if you have a player that's clearly had success in a position, why wouldn't you give that chance, especially when things are not working? There's nothing wrong with that. They're only going to be applauded for taking that chance. So I'm at a loss. I really am. I really am at a loss.
So am I, Norman. We are really baffled at some of the strategies and some of the decisions that the KKR management has taken.
And look, I know when you're a captain or a coach of a side and things aren't going right, you're going to have opinions from 300,000 people. I get that. But you have to listen to something which is being consistently said. You've got to take heed. You can't just think what I'm doing has merit. I'm not going to listen to anywhere else. You have to consider change. And I think Kohli's a good example of that. He has learnt as a captain now to actually listen. He takes advice. That's one of the successes of RCB.
That's the hallmark of a good captain. Obviously, the decision will totally lie on him, lie on the captain, but then he needs to listen.
Well, again, I'm going to go back to the dugout, the bunker, whatever you want to call it. I watched Kohli very, very closely. He's constantly like that, high-fiving. He's acknowledging what, say, Dan Krishna said to him. He's acknowledging what AB de Villiers has said to him, or Kadich. He's actually listening and then realizing you were right. Your advice was right. Thank you for that. He's listening. He's taking it in. He knows that he can't just go his way or the highway. He can certainly lead with a great deal of aggression and a great deal of fearlessness, which is what you want him to do. But he's taking note of certain aspects, and I think it's brilliant. That's where RCB, I think, is somewhat different this year. I think that Kohli's learning more and more about his role as a captain in terms of listening to others. And I think that's really evident. And Simon Kadich would have said to him, because I've got a great video on Kadich talking about leadership. And he said, leadership to him is you can lead, but you can't make someone do something. They have to be able to understand why you're saying it and acknowledge that. So when a leadership barks instructions, it's not just barking instructions, it's actually explaining why you're saying this. And that's where I think Kohli's learnt that, and he's listening. And that's it's a great skill. You can bark instructions, but you have to listen.
Absolutely.
That's the key to anyone. Your listening capabilities is where the strength comes from. Even Ponting, he takes advice. Very much takes advice. Great leader. Okay. This is. Can you think that Arsenal can win the IPL? Yes, I certainly do. This year in particular, I've just mentioned it there in the case. This is the most boring IPL because the top four teams are pretty much clear, and the top hasn't reached the halfway stage yet.
To some extent, yes, because this has really been a boring IPL so far, because those four teams, the four top teams, has been very dominant. If you compare with the bottom four, because the likes of Rajasthan Royals, Punjab Kings, KKR, and Sunrisers Hyderabad have been struggling, have been found wanting, competing with the other four teams.
That's true, but what that does tell me is when we get down to those last four sides, that's where the excitement will start. When those last four sides become
maybe they can spoil party for a few.
Exactly. I think as I said, the last two games matches those four sides together, and then we lead into the actual playoffs. That's when I think we'll get a bit of a rev up in the competition, and you'll watch viewer interest take on. I think viewers, despite the COVID conditions, are actually waning a little bit. They're having some time away from watching. They're probably a little bit over it in some ways. Not over the tournament, but the intensity. And you're saying they've dropped to 60 days, Sebastian, 60 games. How could you have more games? 60 games is too much probably in itself.
Too much.
Are they going to have 76 games?
Yeah, they used to have more matches previously.
Really?
It has been reduced to 60 games because of these pandemic situations and these travel restrictions. That's the reason, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that you don't have matches being played in Punjab or Rajasthan. So and also the home teams are not getting an opportunity to play in the home. So these are all strange situation.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, ask the two more questions. You can go to Busters. Don't count the bottom four out. Okay, under out, Bradford. I'll give you that. You never should do that. You're right, but I think it's becoming more and more of a fait accompli. Coley doesn't have enough calmness to try slowing down the pace on the field when he is on the field, and game gets close. I think Coley's getting better at that. I think he's got good people around him.
He's always encouraging and pumping the other players, his teammates. That is what you want from the captain, to get the best out of your teammates.
True.
That is totally missing in your Owen Morgan. Is hardly lifting the side.
Absolutely. I am seeing though that Coley, one thing that he needs to not do is he needs to not overreact when a person makes a mistake. He sometimes shows some emotion and looks very unhappy. He needs to cut that out. That's one thing he needs to cut out. He needs to curb that disappointment when a failure is made. He needs to be over there, going over and supporting that guy and saying, right, don't worry, it won't happen again, etc. Okay. Sometimes there is a need to slow the pace. Yeah, I grant that point. It's a fair point. All right, DeBusses, I'm going to let you go.
Thank you, Norman.
All right, you take care. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks very much. See you tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, ciao, guys. All right, guys. We're waiting on Shapali Wirakoti. We're waiting on Keshu. I think they're all. It's one of those nights where we've drained our resources somewhat. It is very, very late, and I'm very understanding of that. I'm appreciative of the fact that we've gone beyond their times. Oh, we've got a guest on right now. Your timing is impeccable, because
really?
Debash just left and you've just joined. We're a little bit thin on today. Shapali is, I think, snoring there at home, and all the girls are probably out there partying. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe because Mumbai Indians and the likes of Delhi Capitals won, but you had a program with a nice lot of people. I saw like 4 or 5 people talking away. Pretty big day.
Yeah, my show ended just now because it was a double header, so we had a bit more to talk, and more people. That means it takes more time, so that's why I got late coming here.
That's fine. I think we had a very big discussion. We had some very strong KKR centric fans and senior journalists from Kolkata, at least.
Yeah.
Very damning about Kolkata and their play today. The need for change is evident. I actually made a comment that I think Kolkata's still on the way down. I think they could even drop another level down. They're going out badly. They're not going to improve unless they get rid of their stubbornness to listen to others. And again, it was interesting to talk about the dugout and even the way that Dinesh Karthik is speaking in his Tamil language to a few of the players in the team. That is going to cause. There's definitely factions in that team. And I think Dinesh Karthik is one of them, and with his group. Morgan's another, and Brendan McCullum. There's a lack of unity on that side immensely. No one's talking on the bench. It's quite disturbing. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually backed KKR to do well today, but same old problems.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah, I'm wrong. But same old problems. I mean, the biggest issue seems to be they don't really know how to actually use Sunil Narayan, the batsman. I mean, they can't really put him in the middle order and expect him to bat above Morgan and DK and Russell and do the wonders. I mean, the only place he can actually bat is either in power play, or otherwise, if he's not there, then let others do the batting. And if at all it comes down to number 8, number 9, then you send him. You don't really, I mean, just think about it. When they were playing Shakib, who's actually a proper batsman in the top order, they were not using Shakib in the top order, but they are actually using Narayan there. That's hypocrisy. I mean, of another level. So I think next game they could think about dropping Narayan and bringing in Lockie. That is a wicket-taking option for them.
Certainly, but it's too little, somewhat too late. once the other teams play their 7th match, KKR will probably end up being at the bottom of the table. That's quite likely that could well happen.
Bottom of the table, I still think RR would finish bottom of the table. And the other prediction which I made, actually, if you remember, Norman, in the day I said MI is probably the favorites, but the only chance that RR has it if they chase the game, because they don't have the bowling to defend against MI. So they were not chasing, so I knew that it's not going to be their day.
But both Mumbai and Delhi both thumped their opposition today, in particular
Absolutely.
Delhi.
Yeah.
Delhi really thumped KKR.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a victory; it was an absolute thumping.
Yeah, it showed. I mean, the big boys versus the bottom place teams. The difference, the disparity was so obvious. It was on the show, and Prithvi Shaw seemed to be. It was not a DC versus KKR. It was kind of like Prithvi Shaw versus KKR, isn't it?
Prithvi Shaw, and I'm pretty sure Prithvi Shaw. There's a bit of almost a form of alliteration there. Ricky Ponting would have been in Prithvi Shaw's ear before the match, and Ricky Ponting said, "Right, it's your day, it's your stage, go for it." A license to kill. He would have given him instructions to absolutely go for it. Very much what Ricky Ponting did when he batted in the short version of the game. He immediately started to pull and hook players out of the ground, and the way that the shots that Prithvi Shaw played today were phenomenal. They were really, really phenomenal. There was a big rivalry about CSK and MI. Yes, yeah. I do think that will be the case. But that was a previous question. That was that question there. That's true. But I actually think the winners of this competition will not be out of those two teams. I think it's going to be out of Delhi Capitals and RCB. I really, really think that. I think there's a certain potency about those two teams. Whereas CSK and Mumbai Indians certainly are playing pretty well, but I just don't know whether they've got that real edge about their play, and that's my concern. What's your thoughts?
Do you think now we have actually got a foggy picture, at least if not a clear picture, of the top four, because CSK, MI, DC, and RCB?
Oh, absolutely. Top three, without a shadow of a doubt. Those three are absolutely through to the finals. Unless something dramatic happens, they're through. My concern is with Mumbai, even though they played well today, they have to keep it going. And I was worried about KKR or SRH coming through, or maybe Punjab Kings, but those three teams just aren't cutting it either. So, yeah, I think it's going to be the same top four.
So,
I'd be surprised.
Out of the bottom four, which team do you think is probably the least worse of that pack, and who could be actually competing for that fourth place?
I would have said KKR, but not after today. I think they've really done their dash. Rajasthan Royals out. KKR, unless something dramatic happens, out. SRH, something's missing there. I again thought they were a chance of being in the top four. I actually think surprisingly Punjab Kings for some reason. I don't know why. I wouldn't have favoured them earlier, but I would have always put KKR and SRH above Punjab Kings. But I think they're the only chance with maybe disturbing the table. And we'll see in the next few matches. But I can't see SRH or KKR doing it. They're the two teams that should have been in that top four. Really, they should have been there. On paper, they should have been there. But their management structures are poor, and they look like they're not changing. And
SRH might have a chance only if they give the captaincy in the middle of the season to Williamson. Then only I see them actually getting a comeback into the tournament. Otherwise, I think right now the bottom four might remain the bottom four.
You know what though? If they gave the captaincy to Williamson over Warner, you know what I reckon will happen? Warner will take the next player home.
Yeah,
he'll spit his dummy. He'll spit his dummy. I reckon there's a good chance he'll spit his dummy, and he'll use the excuse of my family, blah blah blah. He'll say that'll come out of him, which will be a crock. The guy cries. He pretends to cry when he had the sandpaper game. He and his wife started crying. That was the most pathetic set of press conferences I've ever seen. And he's only doing the same thing now with his constant bagging of whoever's selecting the side, and he won't listen to his team. He's a horrible interviewer. Unless he's buttering up to the Indians for some money, he shows his true colours. And I'm afraid I've got a little respect for Warner. I mean, I had a lot of disrespect for him after the Sandpaper Gate. I still haven't lost that. He should be thanking his lucky stars he's in the Australian team at all, because the Australian bowling contingent of Hazelwood, Stark, Cummins and Lyon did not speak to Warner for some time after that match. Categorically didn't say a word to the guy, because they were the ones holding. They were the ones holding the ball.
Steve Smith as well.
Steve Smith, he's too much of a nice guy. He's actually quite weak around Warner. Warner is a bullier. He's a pit bull. He dominates. He tries to say what he wants goes. He was vice captain at the time. He was more captain. What Smith often used to just let Warner bully him. So it was more that Smith was not strong enough to say, no, Warner, pull your head into gear and stop that. He was not able to do that. That was a failing of Smith, yes. But Warner was just a brute. He made Cameron Bagnoff do what he did. The epicenter of that problem was him. I know for a fact, I've been told by people I won't mention who, that the entire Australian bowling unit did not talk to Warner for some time after that. They completely and utterly blamed him for the entire matter. And that is true. How could you let someone like that continue to be in a team? And now he's captaining. He has been captaining SRH. You can see the mood of the team is down, and he's responsible for it.
Yeah, I mean, SRH should learn something from Australia. I mean, yes, he played again for Australia, but Australia, I don't think they'll ever give captaincy to Smith or Warner now.
Well, it's not a matter. They've got no choice. They cannot give the captaincy to Warner.
Yeah.
He has been somehow, is it banned, or he's not allowed to captain or be in the captaincy unit again for Australia. Period.
Yeah, that's what the SRH should have done the same, isn't it? I mean, that's also disrespect to Kane Williamson, who actually led the team in his absence in 2018, took them to finals. He's a 2019 World Cup finalist as well. That's disrespect to Williamson just because you want to go back to Warner on loyalty.
You play back the video of, it was only, I think, maybe a week or so ago, when Warner was sitting in the dugout brooding and getting looking down very angrily, and at a long distance away from the thing, near the side screen almost, we saw Bairstow and Williamson put their hands on the fence and were talking, and the conversation was almost whispering at that distance. Those two were talking about Warner and the captaincy. I'll put $100 on it. I couldn't lip sync, but Williamson and Bairstow were talking about the way that the team was going, and they were not happy. I'll tell you right now. And Warner, in his bombastic, controlling style, would actually be pig-headed and would not listen to Bairstow and Williamson. There's an attempt to, again, the social media plays a beautiful platform of Williamson and Warner together, they're nicely chummy. That's a complete crock. I'm sorry. Warner is very poor around the team. Very poor. And when he gets pig-headed...
you are in Australia, so would you say that Warner and Smith post that scandal are not as respected as cricketers or human beings now around the country?
Okay. There's literally two camps in Australia. There are two camps. There are many people that say, "I'll get over it. They're great players. Continue." Right? There is that camp, and I've got some good mates of mine who I'll have on the show next couple of days who are really in that camp. Okay. Then there are plenty of others, at least half others, that go, they should never be allowed in the team. They've disgraced Australia. They're hypocrites. They're money grubbers. They're not good with the public, etc., etc., etc. Okay. There's a distinct divide happening, probably more negative than positive, but it's awful. And then you have this publicity campaign in the papers recently where Steve Smith says he's pledging that he'll do the right thing if he captains again. And then Justin Lane comes out and goes, well, he's not captaining. We're quite happy with what's going on. Thank you very much. Tim Payne said nothing. that's another level of derision that you've got. You've got the coach not even acknowledging what Steve Smith's saying and saying it's not happening, which I really respect.
Is it my internet or is it yours? You got stuck in between. Yeah. Go on.
No, we were frozen. We're okay now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm afraid I know too much about it. I know both Smith and Warner pretty well. Smith is an absolutely great guy, a tremendous guy. He'll say hello to you. Hi, he's a lovely guy. But I'm afraid he was bullied by Warner, and that's a failing of him as a captain. They're both in the Australian side again. We needed them for their batting, absolutely, but we don't need their attitude. Warner's never going to be captain again. He shouldn't be captaining SRH. Williamson should take over now, and he'll watch a better dynamic. Okay, Warner probably will go, spit his number and go home, but they've got enough non-Indian players to bring in to win the competition.
Yeah, actually, without Warner, SRH will have a better balance because they'll be able to play Holder in place of him, who can actually bowl and bat both. And since Bhuvneshwar is not there, in that case, Holder's position will be even more important because he could bowl with the new ball as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very, very, very clear to me.
See, there's a comment. He says SRH is going to Warner as captain because of his sheer weight of runs in IPL and his previous orange cap. So just because somebody is making runs and getting orange cap, you don't make them captain just for that reason. You make somebody a captain because of their captaincy skills, isn't it? Their leadership skills. And that is definitely, I mean, there's no comparison between Williamson and Warner as captains. Yes, they won a season under him, but that's a thing of past. I mean, you can't really go back to somebody who... See, he took the team to the finals and won in 2016. But what happened after that? In 2018, Williamson didn't have Warner services, and yet without Warner, without the orange cap holder or the highest run getter for SRH, without that kind of a batsman, Williamson took the team to the finals. Even 2019, if I'm not wrong, Williamson was only the captain when Warner made a comeback to the team. It was only last year when he was remade the captain, isn't it? And that is so unfair.
Warner is not a captain. Full stop.
Yeah.
A captain does not go out and say, we've got 4 new players, go send the team sheet. That is if I was coach of that team, I would have pulled Warner over the game and said, what the hell were you doing with that? You just disgraced 4 players who are in the team by not even bothering to mention their names. If you didn't remember the bloody, there's all sorts of issues there that really Warner. But see, if you stand up to Warner, Warner attacks back. He's a pit bull. He doesn't listen. He goes, you're not telling me that. I'm not going to take that from you. He doesn't actually listen. That's where the failure is.
This comment, so Amaresh says, when a gentleman like Graham Smith says he has sympathy for Steve Smith, but none for Warner, it tells you everything you need to know.
Absolutely. Graham Smith was an intellectual, he's a person who was very astute, an amazing captain from the very earliest of ages, knew how to lead a team, got the best out of his players. Warner doesn't know how to get the best out of his players. He doesn't. It's all about him. It's him or the highway. He is the worst captain you could have. I know he's won. I don't care about his 2016 performance. That was good, fine. But if he doesn't do the right thing, get rid of him. I think and I think you mentioned it last time we talked. When it comes to the auction next year, we talk about who SRH will retain. It won't be Warner. I'm telling you now, it will not be Warner. Which shouldn't be Warner.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. I think if they are to retain 2 players, it should, or 3 players, it could be Kane, Williamson, Bairstow, and Rashid. As simple as that.
100%. 100%. It's disgraceful. Even in the World Cup, the T20 World Cup, of course they're going to want to put Warner in there because of his ability. We get that, but he should be.
But I think his career is also in the twilight, isn't it? I mean, he's 35 now?
Yeah, he's getting it there. Look, I don't know whether it's necessarily in the twilight because he has that chronic groin injury, which is his problem. But it's more, it's not twilight in a way, but he's not helping it. He's not helping it. I mean, look at Anderson and Broad and people like even Chris Gale or Donny. They're still around, and they're much older than what Warner is. So it's not
and
just...
I think another reason is probably Australia doesn't have a replacement ready for Warner. There's no other as good opening batsman in the domestic ranks. So since he doesn't have some pressure coming from the domestic arena that his place is in jeopardy, that also brings a kind of a carelessness or an arrogance about his place, which somebody could take for granted.
Absolutely. We were breathing a sigh of relief when he came back because we were batting so badly up there. Joe Burns was a mess. Pekoski, despite the talent, was injured half the time or mentally damaged. And look, it's really unfortunate because Warner has done well over the years. We can't deny that. His batting has been quite exemplary at all levels. Yeah. He is a quality player, but after Sandpaper Gate, he's been on a downhill slide ever since.
Yeah.
That is a watershed moment in that guy's career. The way he handled it, this absolutely balderdash type crying. I equate Dave Warner to his property that he has at Coogee here. It's a mess. They've been trying to build it for the last 6-7 years. They keep having structural problems. It looks like a half-baked construction site, even though it's an amazing spot with a sloping view of the water in Lurline Bay. The house is just a heap of rubble. I hate to say that. That's almost the way you look at Warner. I think there's an element of...
Chris Vernon fan club is back. He says Manish Pandey should be the captain because then if you remove Kane or Warner, then the one foreigner spot will also be empty. Manish Pandey, I mean, his own place is in question. How can you make him the captain?
Yeah. Well, there's only one. With Manish Pandey, we're talking about KKR. Oh, no, sorry, SRH. Are we talking about
SRH? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's because I think he's saying it because Manish Pandey actually captains the domestic side Karnataka, and he used to. But I don't think. I mean, if you have a Kane Williamson in your side, why the hell would you go to Manish Pandey for the captain? I mean, it's kind of like how KKR had Morgan last year and they were still having DK to captain. But we have seen this season even Morgan is failing badly as the captain.
Well, there's a lot of... I mean, look, I would have Williamson any day. But there is a discussion which is becoming evident that the captains that are Indian are doing well, except for Samson. The other Samson, you could argue, hasn't performed badly. But the 4 captains of the top 4 sides are who? Kohli, Punt, Rohit Sharma, and Dhoni. The ones that are at the bottom are Morgan, Warner, and there's another there's Morgan and Warner, obviously, and who else have they got? KL Rahul's in, but there's
only two overseas captain. Rest all are.
But they're probably the worst 2. The high expectations with the worst 2, and they're imploding.
And if you saw today's game, just tell me how the hell Morgan didn't bowl Cummins until the first 5 overs. I mean, they were defending just 156. Out of that, they gave away 25 in the first over. So they are technically defending 130. And yet no Cummins for the 5 overs.
And then he takes 3 wickets towards the end. So that says it all. I mean, really, Pat Cummins... Okay, Pat Cummins does not like to open the bowling. He likes to go first change. Generally, he does. That's his tactic.
Bring him in third over, for God's sake.
No, I know. But that's not the point. He should have bowled first up. He should have bowled a barrage of short balls that Chickadale and Prithvi Shaw and bounced them out because he could have done that. Actually, both Shaw and Darwin aren't that great against short bowling. They have an element of deficiency, or anyone does, quite frankly. It's not just unique to those 2. It's never easy. And Pat Cummins' bouncer is a very steep rising bouncer. That's not necessarily that short. He has this ability to bowl short balls from a very good length, which is never easy to do, I can assure you.
Chris Vernon fan club wants your cap. He has his eyes set on your cap.
Well, you know what? I tell you what. If you see, I've got a new cap. I was there the last couple of days. I've got cups as well. The cap that I've got, this is a butcher's style. This is rubbish. You can have this. So it's going to become a collector's item because I'm not going to get any more of these. The other one that I've got has, my MCC cap with a lovely logo. I've got a similar logo but with a sort of stumps with the words across it. It's top notch. I've got that coming, and some lovely cups as well. So that's what's happening. So
by the way, today on my show there was an account with the name of Norman Koshnek Fan Club.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it's the same guy. I mean, it has to be the same guy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance. I'm not saying too many Norman Koshnek fan clubs on my page. Not that I need it. The sheer subscription is my fan club. I need to think of that. What was I going to say? Regarding
okay, were you surprised by MI dropping Ishan Kishan and retaining Quinton de Kock?
Yes. I mean, Quinton de Kock got 70 today. Look, I'm not knocking that. Yeah, but my thoughts are still that Chris Lynn should be in the side. They're missing a trick. The guy could be the X factor they need to actually win the tournament. Even though they've got a winning formula, you would argue, they probably need someone like Chris Lynn in there as well. So I'm not a fan of Quinton de Kock. I don't know why. I know he got 70 today, but something about him, I just don't know. Something doesn't sit well with me and Quinton de Kock. I don't know what it is. I'm not a fan of him. I just maybe.
But since MI won today, do you think they'll continue with this? Because yes, they have an extra bowler now, but their batting is a little bit weaker down the order. I mean, their tail starts at 7. Can you expect Nathan Coulter-Nine to walk at 7 and save them from collapses?
Well, Nathan Coulter-Nine can actually bat as well, by the way. We don't see enough of that. But his actual form leading into this tournament has been very ordinary. In fact, all players in the BBL have had a very ordinary season. Mozon Reeks was probably an exception. Even Dan Christian didn't play badly. But the BBL was disappointing from all sorts of facets. It were the English players that came with it. Liam Livingston batted well, played well. But the Australian contingent, Nathan Coulter-Nine has been very off for some time. Admittedly, he did very well, I'm assuming, in the IPL over the years. But I think that's not a good selection at all. At all. I think there's no need to bring him in. He had little impact today, that's for sure.
Yeah, so, that's what I discussed on my channel as well. How do you see MI going forward? Because yes, they won today, but is it the end of the road for Ishan Kishan for some time? Will he have to wait for his chances now?
Well, I feel a bit sorry for him really, because he seems to be on the outer for some reason. Very unusual to drop a batter for a bowl like that. It's a bit of a slap in the face of Ishan Kishan, to be honest with you, that he's not seen as valued enough. I don't know why they made that change, really, honestly, because it didn't help them at all today. They didn't need that. I think Mumbai Indians, and I think you may have mentioned it earlier, there's a fragility to Mumbai Indians that I haven't seen before. And I think, despite their win today, there's something not right. They're not nearly at the same level as DC, RCB, and the likes of CSK. There's really 3 teams and a 4th which is there, but it's distinctly 3 teams.
I think you need a bit of water, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. You just do a bit of a monologue. I'll get some water.
Yeah. You seem a bit different.
Yeah. No, I think I'm getting a bit tired as well.
Yeah. Well, I hope Norman is fine. He'll just have some water. Until then, I'll take some questions. So Hitesh says Keshav only answers questions which are liked by him. Otherwise, he'll completely ignore that fact. No, that's not the case. I mean, see, half of the comments here have all those spam sort of words in them. So, of course, I cannot take them. And then the other ones, I mean, there's a question which gets repeated all the time: who will CSK play in the final? So
yeah, we that's
no.
look,
So see, Norman, these are the kind of questions which you should not highlight, because the last word which he has written in this is a Hindi word for some the same thing which he actually talked about that day. So
okay.
that's the So he
I
keeps
thought,
putting.
don't worry, I have realised that, and I made a mistake pressing the button there. It's like a way they get their rude message into a statement. I know.
Yeah.
So the Chris Vernon fan club, you're clearly not you're clearly not from England, that's for sure. Your English is pretty good, but you've got a certain gutter mouth.
He came on my channel as well from a different ID, and he was making all those same kind of comments. So I had to block him there. And he actually wrote it here itself that I went to Keshav's channel, but he blocked me. So he's actually admitting that all these fake IDs are run by the same guy.
You know what, though? I'll give you some advice, Keshav. Take this as good advice. Let this person go. Let him put 1,000 comments up there. If you start blocking him, it just acknowledges his to annoy us. I don't really care. They can write whatever they like. If they're going to make a fool of themselves, they can make a fool of themselves. And by the way, YouTube are very good at finding these people out over time. So that can be abused.
No, but YouTube can only acknowledge all those words in English. But if they're writing the Hindi words in Roman script, then I don't think YouTube can do anything about it.
No, I know, but I if I spent my day blocking and deleting people, my finger would be sore, because it's not worth worrying about, really. I love what I'm doing, and that's my thoughts. Okay, Mayan Kumar has said, which three players would see us kind of mega auction? Moeen Ali would be retained. Okay, it's going to be interesting to see how they retain. I mean, you would always have said MS Dhoni in the past. But as I think I've said earlier, if MS Dhoni's team CSK happen to win this year's tournament, I think it will be the end of MS Dhoni. Yeah. I think he will actually say they'll be on such a high.
No, I mean, Norman, even if they don't win this year, Dhoni is a kind of guy who doesn't play for titles or, for runs or personal records. I mean, you were in Australia, remember 2014 series, middle of the series, he announces his test retirement because he feels that he's no more contributing to the team's cause as a batsman or as a captain. So I think if he's feeling that thing with the IPL as well, then this could be his last one. He might be involved with CSK in some sort of capacity, might even be an important part of the auction planning next year, because of course if Dhoni is leaving, he'll make sure for the legacy of CSK they should have somebody to take his place as a captain, as a finisher, as a batsman. So maybe at auction he might be there in some capacity, like who to buy, who not to buy. But if he has made up his mind that this is his last IPL, so doesn't matter if they win the IPL, if they don't reach the top 4, top 2, doesn't matter. I mean, if he has taken that call already, nobody can stop him.
It's funny how at this time of the day Milan always turns up about this time. He's in Austria, mind you. He's in Austria. What time is it in Austria, Milan? Can you read this?
If Punjab Kings lose toss tomorrow, then KL Rahul has no other option than to start the innings with utmost positivity. RCB has adapted to the pitch really well, and we saw today how easy it is to chase. Yeah, I think Punjab, just like Rajasthan, would be actually willing to chase more games rather than, because they don't have good enough bowlers to defend scores. Because see, they only have Shami and to some extent good 4 overs from Ravi Bishnoi. Other than then, the rest 12 overs, you can't really say they are consistent bowlers. I mean, be it Chris Jordan, be it Moses Henriquez, be it Arshdeep Singh, all these guys, I think they are not your go-to bowlers when you need wickets. Yes, Arshdeep has taken wickets, but he also leaks runs at times. So Punjab and RR don't have the bowling per se to defend scores. That's why they would prefer to chase.
Yeah, I mean, for Punjab Kings, to me, the match against RCB is extremely important. as are most matches. But I think it's a very important match because not unlike KKR today, they're losing grip on the top four, and if Punjab Kings lose, it just widens the gap even more. Really, it does. I mean, Mumbai Indians have got some fairly easy games coming up. So,
Mumbai, no, you can't say fairly easy. They are playing CSK on 1st of May. That's going to be a difficult one for them.
Well, that's true. That's a pretty big match.
Yeah.
Who do you reckon's going to win that?
See, I told you I'll always choose CSK. Even if they're
okay. But I know. Take your emotions away for a moment.
Yeah, even then, because if you had asked me last year, then I would have probably said Mumbai. But the way CSK has played this year, and especially the positivity and the change in approach that they have shown compared to last year, I think CSK should be winning this. And with Mumbai now playing a longer tail, I think they have the role cut out for them. I mean, Mumbai, because Kultan Nile or Jayant Yadav coming to bat at 7, it's kind of like how Jai Richardson was batting at 7 for Punjab, or how Cummins was batting at 7 for KKR at one point of time. So that's the same issue.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to knock Chris Vernon's fan club. It's just ridiculous. Okay. Chris Vernon, I'm going to have to talk to Chris Vernon about his fan club.
Shubro says, I've just joined. The weakness of KKR is cricket. They did not remove Narayan today. He scored 0 today, successive 0. What does he mean when he says weakness of KKR is cricket?
Great question. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a bit late where he is, and maybe he's had too many to drink. We're not sure. All right. Chris Vernon fan club's gone nuts there. And I'm not talking about we're not going to talk about that question. Okay.
So this last one from Milan, you might want to take.
Yeah. PK will need to score 190 plus at least tomorrow for that to happen. The openers must give them a fast start. The middle order has underperformed Manly, Pooran.
Do you see Malan? Do you see Malan coming in tomorrow for one of Gale Pooran or maybe Henriquez?
Oh, for God's sake. What are they doing to that poor guy? I mean, really, it's just, when are they going to put him in last game or something? I mean, Look, I don't want to be rude, but you wonder sometimes whether players really care because they're getting paid so much money. They probably, if I was told, here's $3 million, sit on the sideline and they're going to have coffee, I'd be happy. I'd do it. If someone told me to do it, I'm very happy to do it. But they can't have that attitude. That's the problem with this tournament. There are too many players getting paid too much money to do nothing.
Yeah, there was another comment from Milan. He says, is Kane Richardson and Adam Zampa still in Mumbai? Isn't it better they return to RCB camp than to waste days in a hotel waiting to get onto the flight to us? I think they're back, isn't it?
Zampa, look, they're keeping that very quiet in the press. They've got private jets running around. They've got some pathetically pathetically privileged services going on. I think the IPL have got private planes coming out of their ears, dropping these people off and picking them up for that matter as well. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole Australian continues on a private little, 50-seater bloody plane coming home.
I think Paul Rifle has also returned to Australia.
Well, see, can you explain to me? I know it's a money thing because I'm sure the IPL go, here's 50,000, put them on the plane, and they go on, right? They do things like that. They pay ridiculous. They pay overs to get them on the plane, it disgusts me when there are people trying to leave India to come to Australia for all sorts of reasons, are being blocked for months upon months, and then these jokers come on and they get taken back like that. I find that disturbing. They shouldn't be given privileges like that. If it means a player coming to India as an emergency player, I understand they would rush them through. I get that, right? But when they return, why are they treated any differently to anyone else? Why? It comes down to money. IPL go, get them on that plane, here's 50 grand.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Which is disgraceful.
So there's another comment from Andre. He says, Chris, you need some sleep, please. So I think more than Chris, I think it's Norman who needs some sleep because Norman, you seem quite tired today.
Yeah, I'm not 100% to be honest. In fact, we might even end there. I think we might end the show a little bit earlier today because I think it's by no means early. It's what time? It's early in terms of time. What time is it? It's
1:20 in India. Yeah,
5:49 in Australia.
We could end in 10 minutes.
Yeah, let's finish at 6. All right, guys, it's your turn to ask questions. Everyone other than Chris Vernon fan club can ask questions. It's probably possible. I mean, that's. I know I shouldn't say this, but the bragging rights of IPL, being an owner of a team, and you can fling your money around and out fling other people and do things outrageously, pay overs for players, and have money left in the cap that you've still got available to you. It actually spoils the game a little bit. And I think what they need to do is try to be able to control what they do to make it difficult for a team to buy players and not use them. I reckon if a team buys the player and if they're fit and doesn't play them the entire season, they should be penalised by the IPL. Because that's clearly evidence of a player being, blocked or being, not allowed to be used by other teams. They say Milan is one of those. They say Milan's been picked so as to stop other sides from getting him. But I believe that there's something quite disturbing about that. If you buy a player for a lot of money and he sits on the bench the entire season and doesn't play a game and he's fit, then the IPL should say, well, we're going to double that amount of money.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's a worthy fine.
Absolutely.
It's misuse of players. That's blocking traffic. It's blocking fair play because Milan could have played for half a dozen other sides and probably played every game. So
I mean, just think how much RR would want Milan right now. I mean, if they're not using him, RR would open both their arms and take Milan even for half the price, isn't it? I mean, Milan is somebody who could actually fit in Rajasthan Royals squad right now because they're missing Stokes and they need that sort of a top order batsman.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, and even Rajasthan is actually playing without a proper spinner. I mean, you can't really win an IPL with a spinner like Rahul Tewati or Riyan Parag, who's a version of Malinga as a spinner. I mean, just think if KKR is not playing Kuldeep, they can actually loan it to Rajasthan, and Rajasthan could make so good use of Kuldeep Yadav right now. So
you go through it. When Chris Lynn played one game, I almost think they played that one game so they put the spoiler off him. They can't say they didn't play a game. I mean, that's the other end of this. If we say that the player's not used, then we get him traded off. What they'll end up doing is playing in one match to make it look like they're using him. They'll try and get around that.
Somebody asked me who are the two gentlemen in the picture on your wall. It's not a picture on my wall. It's the logo that Norman has put his picture with Sachin Tendulkar. It's not on my wall. That's my wall.
Just see that one back. You see that picture up there on the wall? It's just temporarily up there. That photograph, you know how much that's worth? Several $1,000s because it's an original print from the original run of the 1948 Ashes team. I got that from a guy who owns the Bradman House, who happens to be worth $200 million, and he just flung that to me like it was toilet paper. And it's worth its weight in gold. So it's an actual original proof photograph of the 1948 tour. It's actually numbered. It's rare. I should have it properly framed anyway. I've only got it there. I've only put that there temporarily. I have so much. I'm with a bunch of about maybe 15 or 20 men in Australia who have enormous amounts of memorabilia. I've got a whole warehouse, like a storage area warehouse, full of memorabilia that I wouldn't even know what's in there. Bradman memorabilia, bats signed by players, frame pictures with Richards, probably about several hundred. But there are people that I know that have much, much more. We have some kind of a club of guys that have got some of the most. A guy called Bruce Hawkins. He spends $20,000 on a photograph that's framed. He has another guy that's got every cricket hat that you could imagine from players, and then you've got people who actually owns a bloke that actually owns the Bradman house, and he owns the Bradman cap worth $500,000. It's in Lords. He owns another cap worth $700,000. It's sitting in the SCG. Incredible. Imagine spending all that money and then putting it on display in the SCG. I understand why you're doing it, but it's a lot of money to do that, isn't it?
Yeah. Chris Vernon fan club says that's Norman with his wife. I think he's not seeing it clearly. That's not his wife. That's actually Sachin Tendulkar.
Exactly. And Norman, do you watch the IPL late night? What do you think?
He watches it, and then the whole night he's doing these analysis for you. I mean, that's the love for the game, isn't it, Norman?
The Tendulkar photograph. It actually is a very special photograph. If you look at the sunset, and it's over Sydney Harbour. It's a very. It was actually quite a good photograph.
That's during 2015 World Cup, isn't it?
Exactly. Yep. He basically, I had him as a guest. I was a guest in his corporate suite the whole tour, every stadium. I was with him. There was the guy from MRF. It was his manager, another guy, and me. That was it. In a suite that would hold 100. It was ridiculous. We had this big room, and we were right next to Dabashis and all the media guys, and they were quite shocked. It was quite funny, and Boria and all of them. It was a lot of fun. That was a great. I had him at a private dinner at Doors, which you saw, with 50 people, all paying a lot of money to be with him. But he was a great guy.
I actually saw Sports Today analysis with Boria, and Anisha was there as well. So, I didn't know before today that Anisha used to be on Sports Today with Boria.
No, yeah. I mean, Boria and I are very good friends. We know each other really well. And she was also the KKR girl.
Have you got Boria on your channel yet?
Yes.
Oh, you did.
When? It was my very first live video.
Oh, wow. So was it during the Australia tour?
It was just after it.
Okay.
But I was a regular on Sports Today on his pre and post show in Australia. I was the go-to person. He interviewed me a lot. I was there when the Siraj matter happened. I was the one that broke the interview with the Baby Village, where they had both Pandya and what's his name, Kohli in there. I was on India Today very often with Boria.
Yeah.
I've known Boria for close to 15 years. I knew them both. There's a great photo of Boria, Kuntal, and Dabashis together with me at the SCG, 15 years ago. They were relatively unknown then. They're not now.
See, Vaibhav says, lots of respect to you, Norman. Cutting your sleep to watch the game defines your passion for the game.
Who was that?
Vallabh Harsh.
I appreciate that. And it's funny you mentioned the name Cutting, because Ben Cutting, I've known since he was a kid. and Ben Cutting, I think I told you, Ben Cutting, Chris Lim, Ben Dunk, or the guy called Beric Barnes, you wouldn't know. They all used to go on cricket tours that we used to run to Sri Lanka when they were kids.
So this comment which says Norman is the man for any news on Aussie cricket. So were you also the first one to break the sandpaper scandal news, or did you get it from somebody else actually?
Well, the sandpaper gate, I'm with that group of people that were told first. Okay. Yes. I think it's Ben Horn and a lot of those guys were the ones involved with that. We all got to know at the same time virtually.
Were you in South Africa?
No, I didn't go to South Africa. No, I wasn't physically there, no. But it wasn't really broken by the press. It was broken by the media, as in the television networks. If that makes any sense. So it wasn't broken by a newspaper. It was something that was in front of everybody's eyes. We saw it. But in terms of what happened, what
was your first reaction when you heard it? Did you believe it, or did you think it was a hoax?
Oh no, I definitely. I thought it was. Look, it's not unusual in world cricket for this to happen. whether it's lollies, chewing gum, things in their pockets. Sandpaper certainly is extreme, but it was the calamity of errors that led to it. I think Atherton, certainly, what's his name from Pakistan? There's a few that have done it from Pakistan, plenty from South Africa, England, Australia. They've all done it. Doctoring a ball's not new. Doctoring a ball's not new. It wasn't that. It was the deliberate attempt and the orchestration by a team to do it was the problem.
Yeah, and bringing in external things like sandpaper and everything. I mean, people have done it. Yeah, people have done it with. I think Faf du Plessis once did it with the zip of his pants, but he didn't bring something physically from outside of the ground.
The audacity to do it. It was the arrogance, the audacity to do it, and then to give, then the gutlessness of Warner, and to an extent Smith, to give it to Bancroft, who was an absolute. He's a space.
I think he was the biggest actually kind of loser in this whole thing. I mean, he has lost the most because the other two guys have come back into the team, but Cameron, I don't think he'll be back again in Australian colours.
He was a scapegoat. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Warner was gutless. Warner didn't do it himself. He got someone else to do it. So he'd be exposed. And he knew and he hoped that if Bancroft got nabbed, that both Warner and Smith would get away with it. And they were literally within a hair's breadth of actually fingering Bancroft only. I believe Warner actually wanted to finger Bancroft as a scapegoat and have both Smith and himself stay out of it. Why else would they get Bancroft to do that?
What's Bancroft doing these days? I mean, is he playing domestic?
He played the BBL actually too. He's an okay player. He was never good. He had some good results at a domestic level, but yeah, he's mentally shot. He is playing BBL and that now, and he gets occasionally some runs. He's not that bad. He's obviously a good player, but he's never going to play for Australia again. But what I'm getting is Warner bullied him into doing it. Warner was arrogant about it. He was ticked off by the South Africans. He wanted to teach him a lesson. He didn't like the way that de Kock got stuck in about his wife, who had slept with other men, and all that stories about his wife sleeping with Sonny Bill Williams, who's a rugby union bloke from New Zealand, in the toilet at Cloverleaf pub, which is around the corner from my place. All this innuendo about his wife. Look, it's bad, yes, but you got to cop that. When de Kock gave it to him, just ignore it. But what Warner did was he got upset about it and actually almost wanted to try to have a fight with de Kock. Then he went and did the sandpaper thing.
Yeah, Warner had these issues in past as well. If you remember, I think he punched Joe Root at a bar.
Was that Warner or was that Warner?
Yeah, that was Warner in 2013 Ashes.
Or was it? I'm just trying to remember who actually was the person who did that. It may have been Warner. Yeah, Warner's a low class individual. He came from a housing commission. He's a bit of a gutter character in terms of his schooling. He's a real, like a real street dog, like a pit bull type character. Hence why he's a great player. He's got that fighting characteristic. But he's a raw bone guy, okay. And he used to be really nice, but since he's made all this money and he's with his,
the other day David Warner actually tweeted about AB de Villiers, and he said, "You are my idol." If you're idolizing somebody, you don't just idolize them for their batting or something. You also idolize them for the human being they are. And I mean, there's so much of difference between AB and Warner as people.
Well, both Williamson and Bairstow are very distinguished guys. I mean, Bairstow is known to be gay, which is of no consequence, but they're very decent people, both Bairstow and Williamson. They're very good quality people. They're very well educated. They're very knowledgeable. They've got a street dog with them that's basically pretending to be educated when he's not. I mean, no one can teach someone to talk in front of the public. They'll do what they want to do if they're incapable of doing it. And Warner, as I said to you, when he said recently, the four blokes in the team go read the team sheet, that was just stupidity, a certain amount of idiocy. You can't manage for that. And then he blames the actual, what do they call it? He blames the selection for the team. Why is he captain? What idiot thinks he's a good captain? He's a shocker. Getting rid of him. Seriously. I'm sorry. He's embarrassing me and he's embarrassing Australians. And then he goes out on TikTok and starts putting this crappy, which is, I know it's well received. He makes an attempt to speak and sing in Hindi and all those things. It's very nice. Well-intentioned, you might think, but it's all
I don't
about
think
money.
I don't think those videos would be doing too well in Australia because nobody really cares about TikTok or Hindi songs over there. They don't even understand. So he's probably doing it as a PR stunt just to attract more Indian followers.
Obviously. He is all about the money. He'll play IPL until he's 73 if they let him.
And let me tell you, he's doing more Telugu songs, which is the local language in Hyderabad. So again, the connect with the SRH fans so that they see him as this idol image of the captain of SRH team.
Yeah, I mean, he's a political stunt, like he's a publicity stunt machine now, and unfortunately,
he's getting his wife and kids to do the TikTok as well. I mean, how needy can it get? How desperate can it get?
Well, he reckons his daughter introduced him to TikTok, which is
that could be true. That could be true. But to involve your young kids to get followers and validation on social media, that's not cool.
Look, the guy's he knows where his money's coming from. Okay? He knows where his money's coming from. He's made tens of millions already, and he's building this house, which he's basically never going to live in because it's just unfinished. It's one of these, like he's trying to build the Taj Mahal, and he's never going to ever live in the damn thing. I mean, I don't understand when you've got lots of money, Keshu. Just build a nice house and live in it. Don't keep building the biggest thing you could ever build and never ever finish it. I don't get that.
Okay, so just before we finish today, do you think the kind of knock Prithvi Shaw played today? I mean, that was amazing to watch. So, yeah. So, do you think if he has this kind of IPL, like if he continues this consistency and also the impact that his runs are making, would he be considered for the World T20?
Great question. He needs to do more than one innings, though. He really.
Yeah, that's what I said. If he has this kind of an IPL. Because right now, Ishan Kishan is actually failing, so that one spot could go to either of them.
Well, Prithvi Shaw played so badly in Australia that he was almost banished from the whole team. He was just imploding, not scoring any runs, batting very badly. He's come back domestically. He's starting to show form now in the IPL. Every reason why. He was first picked for the Test series in Australia, literally, and fell away so quickly. Yeah, he's obviously good enough. We know that. He's obviously a former under-19s captain, a great leader domestically. He's bound to get his way back, but he needs to.
But you can't really take his Test matches failures into account for white ball contention because there are different formats, different balls, different conditions. So even if he failed there, it shouldn't have actually put his white ball contention in jeopardy. And if he continues to play like this. If he continues to play like this, then you never know. I mean, he's probably from that Sehwag school of batting, isn't it? I mean, he just smacks everyone right, left, and center.
But I mean, if he is to open the batting for the World Cup, who does he drop? Who do you take out of that opening position?
See, it depends. I mean, if Kohli is not rigid about opening the batting with Rohit Sharma, then probably Prithvi Shaw could be one contender for the opening because if you have KL Rahul or Ishan Kishan as an option, then clearly KL Rahul is actually his strike rate has gone down, and if Prithvi Shaw continues to bat like that with the strike rate of I don't think you want to take that because the last word is again a spam word.
I thought so. But I thought it was just amusing because of the name. What is that? Can you text me what the meaning of that word is, please?
Yeah, I can tell you. Yeah, I don't know why they keep adding that thing, something or the other at the end of each sentence. I mean, and that's the same account which came onto my show as well.
Yeah, well, they're obviously bored. They're watching everybody's show. Not bored, but you can. I mean, talking about us sleeping. What about those guys that are on our program? They need to sleep as well.
Yeah, but in India it's only like 1:40 a.m. So we are still okay.
Yeah, I guess. All right, what time we got now? What time is it now? Is it 6?
It must be 6:10 over there.
Yep, we might finish up there. All right. Thanks, Kez.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon again. We'll get more programs happening. And I've actually got a really good video of some chats I had with the public. I'll put that on soon too. All right, guys. Thanks, Kez. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
All the best. This is Norman Kostek from Eyes on Cricket. View, like, and share my posts. Please don't forget to subscribe. We've got WhatsApp groups which you deal with, or fan clubs. Send the links, please. It's important for the channel to grow. All the best. Take care. Thanks, Christian. Ciao.